Hey everyone, welcome to Meals by Odera. Today we're going to be making spinach and basil pesto. I really like this recipe. I love how much spinach is incorporated. I definitely got this recipe from allrecipes.com and I'm glad I made it. It was really nice. I've been able to create a lot of interesting meals with this that you will also see on this channel. If you guys want to use this pesto in other recipes, you can actually find it on MyFitnessPal because I made it a food, and so now everyone can search it and find it, which I think is super cool. MyFitnessPal is so great. I think if I could ask for one more thing, I wish we could share recipes. That would be even better. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into what you'll need to make this recipe. You're gonna need a bag of spinach, some olive oil, some real garlic, parmesan, pine nuts, basil, and a lemon. You're also gonna need a cup, measuring cup, and a tablespoon, and a food processor or blender. Okay, so this recipe, the way to make it, it's nothing fancy. We're just gonna blend everything all at once. Well, I guess not all at once. We are gonna add things in strategically. Again, if you see me blend anything on this channel, you'll know that, there's a method to the madness when it comes to blending. I mean, if I were to have started this with the oil, I guess, and put the spinach last, maybe it would have worked because there's enough spinach to, pack the thing, but it really helps to have the drier ingredients going first, the ingredients that need the most blending or the hardest to blend ingredients go in first, and then the heavier ingredients and the moister, that's a word, wetter ingredients up top. Because as you can see, I'm going to add the olive oil to the spinach, and that's going to weigh down the spinach from the top. And I'm not going to blend everything all at once. I'm going to blend the spinach and the olive oil first. I think I might add something else to this. Maybe the pine nuts, I can't really remember. I'm going to blend that first just to reduce the volume, and then I'm going to add the other ingredients. But I really love this recipe. I mean, there's so much spinach involved. The pesto comes out so vibrant and green. I just really love it. So I guess I'm gonna add the pine nuts first. Again, another great ingredient to weigh down the spinach. I ended up using this recipe with pasta. I also ended up using it with toast, not avocado toast, I'll do anything for avocado toast, but it's a different kind of toast recipe. I think I ended up using it for maybe 2 different toast recipes, I'm not sure, but one was a caprese, I'm not sure how you say it, caprese, man, I have to figure this out. That sort of, toast recipe where it's just like tomato, mozzarella, and basil. That's what I'm referring to. I used it for that recipe and it came out really nice, really delicious. I'm telling you, really delicious. I should actually make it again. The thing is, this pesto is a lot of work. I mean, it's not a lot of work, but it feels like a lot of work. It feels like a lot of work for not a lot of pesto, and I guess I've been trying to eat less cheese because I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I really do think I've noticed that when I stop eating cheese, my skin gets better, or any kind of dairy. Cheese is the only real dairy product that I eat regularly, or that I used to eat regularly. So when I stopped eating, cheese, mozzarella, cheddar, Parmesan, my skin cleared up, and so I thought that was a sign to stop eating cheese, and I did. But I mean, every once in a while, it's not gonna hurt you, and who cares if you have a couple acne, pimples if it means a good meal, right? So anyway, what you see me doing here is just shredding the Parmesan. I think there's a different cheese that's called, man, I'm forgetting it now. It's not Parmesan, but it's like very similar to Parmesan. You could also use that for this recipe, I guess, but I really didn't stray much from what the directions were on allrecipes.com. That being said, I really love All Recipes. I highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in becoming a better cook or learning about different types of meals. Highly recommend that recipe, but one thing I will say is that before you make the recipe, you have to read the reviews. Oh, by the way, right here, I'm just kind of taking the leaves off the basil. I wasn't sure if you could really blend the stems. Maybe, I mean, somebody comment below if it's okay to blend the stems. I just wasn't sure, so I just kind of plucked the leaves off. And I think I needed 1 cup, so that's kind of all you see towards the end. But yeah, when you're on allrecipes.com, make sure that you go to the comment section and look at the reviews, because sometimes people make a typo in the ingredients. Like, I think one time somebody for a pancake recipe, they said put in like a tablespoon of baking soda when they meant a teaspoon. That was tragic. Also, as other people continue to make the recipe, they find different, things that really upgrade the recipe. It's usually just slight changes. I'm not a fan of completely changing the recipe and then like making a review on essentially the new recipe that you invented. But for the most part, like the most top rated reviews just have little tweaks that are pretty helpful. I'm not sure if I did that for this recipe. Anyway, I'm just squeezing a lemon. Make sure to catch the seeds. You could have done this in a little like a manual juicer, but I didn't want to have more dishes to wash. So catch the seeds before they fall out, or it'll be part of your pesto, which I guess wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Anyway, now we're just gonna blend everything all together. And yeah, this pesto, I don't know, like I've never really bought pesto at the store. So I can't really say if this pesto is like more expensive than like regular pesto, because this ends up being like, when I did the price per meal breakdown, this whole thing was like $18. But I think from what I've seen at the store, pesto usually comes in much smaller jars. Look at it, look at the color. Oh, I love it. Pesto usually comes in much smaller jars, and it's usually more watery. This comes out very thick. I think the pesto that you get at the store has a lot more oil, like a lot more oil and a lot less basil. Most pestos don't use spinach, they just use basil. But I'm like, hey, I love spinach. Spinach is great for you. Why not add spinach to this dish? I don't know. Why wouldn't you? That's what drew me to this dish originally, the fact that it uses spinach instead of basil. But yeah, so in general, my understanding is that pesto is not necessarily cheap, but you probably won't find an $18 jar at the store. You'll probably find like a small jar for like $5 or $7, So maybe this pesto that I just made is actually a lot more cost effective than I realized. Anyway, here I'm going to measure out the pesto that I make. I think I end up making like 1.5 cups. And it's kind of hard to measure because it's so thick. As you can see, it's really like chunky, which is not very characteristic of pesto from my understanding. Because it's so chunky, I think a lot of the pesto got lost like in transferring it from the measuring cup to, the actual jar and everything. But, we're making it work. The reason why I tried to measure it was for the nutrition breakdown for later recipes where I use a serving of pesto. And I also didn't even attempt to measure a serving of pesto because that changed for me over time. At one point it was like a 1/4 cup, and then at another point it was like 2/3 a cup. I don't know if that changed by the recipe, but I keep licking this pesto. It really is delicious. I can't lie, it's delicious. But every time I lick a utensil on camera, I feel like I just need to remind you guys that like I live alone, So it's like okay for me to lick all this. Anyway. Yeah, so I just hope you guys really enjoy this pesto. If you struggle with eating spinach, I don't think this is the best way to get your spinach in, because there's a lot of other things involved in this pesto. Given the other main ingredient that I really like about this pesto is Parmesan. It has a lot of calcium, I think. I'll fact check it. I'll put some nutrition facts up. But I think it has a lot of calcium and a lot of protein. I have small bones, so I always like some calcium. I like muscle, so I always like some protein. Anyway, this is what the pesto looks like when all is said and done. It doesn't necessarily come out to a full mason jar, but here's the price per meal breakdown. Here are the nutrition facts for the entire jar. I hope you're not eating the entire jar at once, but if you do, here are the nutrition facts. I hope you're having a lovely day. Comment below if you made the pesto and you liked it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!